March 18th, 1944. Kassel, Germany. 2:37 in the afternoon. The sirens begin to scream before the workers can even look up. Inside the Henschel tank factory, the air already smells of oil, hot steel, and sweat. A Panther tank hull hangs suspended from an overhead crane, its raw armor plates still scarred with welding seams. Men freeze in place. Someone drops a wrench. Another whispers a curse. Then the first bombs hit. The floor shudders violently. Windows shatter inward in a storm of glass. Overhead lights flicker, die, then flicker again as the entire building seems to groan like a wounded animal. You can almost feel the pressure change in your chest as explosions roll closer, each one heavier than the last. Outside, more than 300 American B-24 Liberators are dumping their payloads on Kassel. This isn't a raid meant to frighten. It's meant to erase. Within minutes, sections of the factory roof collapse. Fires bloom across the assembly floor. The Panther hull swings wildly, its chains snapping as it crashes onto the concrete below, never to become a tank, never to reach the front. And in that moment, though, no one inside realizes it yet, Germany's ability to replace its tanks is bleeding out. On paper, the Reich still looks powerful in 1944. Production reports boast impressive numbers. New Panthers, Tiger IIs, Jagd Panthers. Sleek machines with thick armor and long guns that terrify Allied tank crews. German propaganda films show columns of armor rolling confidently across muddy fields, engines roaring, commanders standing tall in open hatches. But what you see on film is not what's happening on the ground. Because by 1944, Germany is no longer losing tanks one by one. It is losing the system that creates them. At the front, the losses are relentless. On the Eastern Front, Soviet artillery never seems to stop firing. Waves of T-34 seconds surge forward, accepting losses that Germany cannot match. Every retreat costs abandoned vehicles, broken transmissions, empty fuel tanks, engines worn past repair. Tanks that could have been recovered in 1942 are now blown up by their own crews, denied to the enemy because there is no time, no fuel, no tow vehicle left. In the West, something new is happening. Allied air power owns the sky. German tank units learn to move only at night. Daylight columns are death traps. Jabo's fighter bombers appear without warning, screaming down out of the sun. Rockets slam into road junctions. Strafing runs shred fuel trucks and half-tracks. A Panther doesn't even need to be destroyed. Immobilized, out of fuel, it becomes a stationary coffin. Every tank lost needs replacing. But replacement is no longer a simple matter of building another machine. Inside Germany, the illusion of industrial resilience is cracking. Albert Speer, Reich Minister for Armaments, works tirelessly to increase output. On paper, he succeeds. Tank production numbers in 1944 actually peak. More tanks are completed this year than ever before. But numbers lie when context is stripped away. Factories are producing in chaos. Bombing raids force assembly lines to stop and start unpredictably. Skilled workers are killed, wounded, or drafted into the Volkssturm. Slave laborers forced into factories from across occupied Europe work under brutal conditions, poorly trained, exhausted, sabotaging machines in small, desperate acts of resistance. Precision suffers. Gearboxes fail after a few dozen kilometers. Engines overheat. Final drives crack under stress. A tank that looks formidable on a train flat car may break down before it ever fires a shot. And that train flat car? It may never reach the front at all. Germany's transportation network is collapsing. Rail yards are priority targets now. Bridges vanish overnight. Switching stations burn. Locomotives sit idle for lack of coal or spare parts. A completed tank in Bavaria might wait weeks for transport weeks, during which the front moves, retreats, collapses. Meanwhile, fuel shortages worsen by the day. Synthetic fuel plants, Germany's lifeline after losing access to natural oil fields, are hammered relentlessly by Allied bombers. Production plummets. Tank units receive new vehicles, but no gasoline to move them. Crews are forced to train on foot, memorizing controls they rarely touch. A tank without fuel is not a weapon. It is dead weight. And still, the German High Command demands more. More Panthers, more Tigers, heavier armor, bigger guns. Hitler personally interferes in tank design, insisting on perfection over practicality. Upgrades pile on. Production slows. Complexity increases. A Panther requires far more labor hours than a T-34 hours Germany no longer has. While the Allies simplify, Germany complicates. While the Soviets churn out thousands of near-identical tanks, Germany builds masterpieces it cannot sustain. The result is brutal mathematics. Losses at the front now outpace not just production, but delivery, repair, and crew training combined. A tank destroyed in Normandy cannot be replaced in time to matter. A tank lost in Belarus leaves a gap that will never close. Back in Kassel, the bombing raid ends as abruptly as it began. The sirens fall silent. Smoke hangs low over the ruins. Survivors crawl from debris, faces blackened, ears ringing. Somewhere beneath the rubble lies a stack of blueprints, revised designs for a new Panther variant that will never enter mass production. By nightfall, Speer's office will receive another report. Temporary disruption. That's what it will say. But this disruption is not temporary. It is cumulative. And as 1944 grinds on, Germany is about to learn a devastating truth. It is no longer fighting a war of machines, but a war of time. And time has just switched sides. The breaking of the machine. June 23, 1944, near Vitebsk, Belarus, 4:10 in the morning. The ground shakes before the sound arrives. Oberleutnant Karl-Heinz Richter grips the rim of his Panther's open hatch as the eastern horizon flashes white once, twice, then endlessly. Soviet artillery has begun its preparation fire. Shells fall like rain, tearing into German trenches, command posts, supply dumps. The air tastes of cordite and dust. This isn't another attack. This is annihilation. Operation Bagration has begun. Richter's tank company should have had 17 Panthers. It has 9. 2 are already immobile final drive failures that no spare parts can fix. Another sits dry, its fuel allocation diverted to higher priority units that no longer exist. The remaining Panthers idle in place, engines rumbling softly, crews listening to the thunder roll closer. When the order finally comes, move forward, counterattack. It feels less like a command and more like a formality. The Red Army does not come in waves anymore. It comes in floods. Soviet T-34 seconds surge forward behind the barrage, their silhouettes appearing through smoke and dust. They are not perfect machines. Their optics are crude. Their crews are often poorly trained. But they are there. In numbers, Germany can no longer comprehend. Richter fires. A T-34 erupts in flame. He fires again. Another kill. But for every tank destroyed, 3 more push forward, tracks grinding over shell craters, infantry clinging to hulls, shouting, firing wildly. Then, Richter's Panther lurches violently. The transmission screams. A final drive cracks. The tank shudders to a halt, dead in the open. Within minutes, Soviet artillery brackets the immobilized vehicle. The crew bails out under fire, sprinting for cover as the Panther explodes behind them, destroyed not by enemy tanks, but by a mechanical failure Germany cannot replace. This is the reality of German armored warfare in 1944. The tanks are still lethal, but they are fragile, under-maintained, and irreplaceable. And the system that once kept them fighting repair depots, recovery vehicles, spare parts pipelines has collapsed. Earlier in the war, damaged tanks were assets. A knocked-out Panzer III in 1941 might be recovered, repaired, and returned to service within weeks. Specialized recovery vehicles, trained mechanics, and intact rail lines made this possible. By 1944, those support structures are gone. Recovery half-tracks are destroyed by air attack. Railheads are bombed. Workshops lack electricity, tools, even basic lubricants. Mechanics are drafted into infantry units to plug gaps at the front. A tank disabled by a minor fault is now often abandoned. And once abandoned, it is lost forever. Meanwhile, German factories continue to produce tanks that never reach units like Richter's. Panthers roll off assembly lines in Silesia and Bavaria, only to be rerouted again and again as the front collapses. Some are diverted to training units that lack fuel. Others are destroyed on trains by fighter bombers before crews ever see them. Entire battalions exist only on paper. The tanks are there, but they are not here. Fuel becomes the silent killer. In Normandy, newly arrived Panthers are hidden under trees, engines cold, because starting them during daylight risks immediate air attack. Crews siphon fuel from wrecks, argue over allocations, measure remaining gasoline in liters rather than tanks full. Orders come down to hold positions at all costs. But costs require currency, and Germany's currency fuel, steel, trained crews, is gone. Worse still, the men inside the tanks are changing. Veteran crews, once the backbone of German armored units, are dead or wounded. Replacements arrive with weeks, sometimes days of training. They know the theory of gunnery, the diagrams of engines, but not the instincts that keep a tank alive under fire. A Panther is unforgiving. One mistake in gear shifting can destroy the transmission. One poor decision in terrain selection can bog it down permanently. These are errors experienced once prevented. Now, they are routine. Every inexperienced crew is another tank lost not to enemy fire, but to reality. High command begins to understand, but too late. Reports from the front describe catastrophic losses, material exhaustion, lack of operational reserves. Requests for replacements go unanswered or are met with promises that never materialize. There are no reserves left. Germany is feeding tanks into battles they cannot win, faster than they can be replaced, repaired, or even transported. The armored fist that once smashed through Europe is now brittle, cracking with every blow. As Operation Bagration continues, entire German armies disintegrate. Tank divisions cease to exist in any meaningful sense. A division might field 20 operational vehicles, sometimes fewer. Commanders speak of battalions as if they are brigades, companies as if they are battalions. Language bends to hide the truth, but the truth remains. Back at the factories, engineers quietly admit something unthinkable just 2 years earlier. Even if the bombing stopped tomorrow, even if fuel magically returned, even if trained crews appeared overnight, Germany no longer has the time to rebuild what it has lost. And in the West, across the English Channel, another storm is gathering, one that will expose just how hollow Germany's armored strength has become. The enemy in the sky. June 13th, 1944. Normandy, France. 11:42 in the morning. The hedgerow explodes without warning. Hauptmann Ernst Keller ducks instinctively inside his Panzer IV as dirt, leaves, and splintered wood crash down on the turret roof. The radio crackles with overlapping voices, shouts, warnings, half-finished orders. Somewhere nearby, a tank is burning. The sharp, oily stench seeps through the open hatch. Keller knows the enemy is close. But he also knows the real danger isn't in front of him. It's above. A high-pitched scream cuts through the air. Jabos. The word hits harder than any shell. British Typhoons dive out of the clouds, their engines howling, rockets slung beneath their wings. Sunlight flashes off canopies for just a second before the aircraft level out, lining up on the narrow Norman road where Keller's unit is trying to reposition. The first rocket misses. The second doesn't. It slams into a half-track at the head of the column, tearing it apart in a fountain of flame and metal. The road is instantly blocked. Vehicles behind grind to a halt. Crews scramble, shouting, some abandoning their machines entirely. Keller's tank hasn't been hit, but it may as well have been. This is armored warfare in the West, 1944. German tanks are no longer destroyed primarily by enemy armor. they are destroyed by air power. Or worse, immobilized. A tank that cannot move is a tank that will not survive. By the summer of 1944, the Allies possess overwhelming air superiority. Fighters roam freely over France from dawn to dusk, hunting anything that moves. Roads are death traps. Rail lines are shattered. Even forests offer no real protection. German tank crews adapt as best they can. They camouflage relentlessly. They move only at night. They park under trees, in barns, in sunken lanes. Orders are delayed until darkness. Entire divisions operate on nocturnal schedules, like hunted animals. But war does not pause for nightfall. When Allied ground forces attack during the day, German armor often cannot respond in time. And when it does move, it moves blind. Replacement tanks arrive in dribs and drabs. A handful of Panthers here, a couple of Panzer IVs there. They are issued without proper coordination, thrown piecemeal into combat. There is no time to form cohesive units, no fuel to train together, no spare parts to maintain cohesion. A tank destroyed in Normandy cannot be replaced. Not because Germany lacks factories, but because the path from factory to battlefield has become a killing ground. Even when tanks survive combat, they often die afterward. A Panther throws a track while maneuvering through a hedgerow. A Panzer IV overheats in summer dust. A Tiger runs low on fuel and must be abandoned during a retreat. Allied aircraft return again and again, circling patiently, waiting for movement. A disabled tank is an invitation. Rockets, bombs, strafing fire. By nightfall, the wreck is blackened steel. The psychological toll is immense. Veteran tank commanders, men who survived Russia, North Africa, Italy now fear the sky more than enemy guns. Crews flinch at engine noise that isn't their own. Every open field feels exposed. Every road feels watched. Morale erodes. Not through defeat in battle, but through helplessness. You cannot fight what you cannot see. German attempts to counter Allied air power fail. Anti-aircraft guns are diverted from cities to the front, but they are never enough. Ammunition is scarce. Radar networks are shattered. Luftwaffe fighters are too few, too inexperienced, too outmatched. When German aircraft do appear, they arrive in ones or twos. The Allies arrive in squadrons. Back in Germany, the consequences compound. Each tank lost in Normandy increases pressure on factories already struggling under bombardment. Engineers rush incomplete designs into production. Quality control slips further. Spare parts become incompatible across variants. A Panther built in January may require different components than one built in June. Standardization collapses. Repairs become nightmares. Spear's production charts still climb. But frontline commanders know the truth. The tanks arriving now are not replacements. They are placeholders, symbols of strength that vanish almost immediately. A panzer division that should field 150 tanks may fight with 40, then 30, then 12. At some point, it stops being a division at all. As the Allied breakout from Normandy begins, German armored counterattacks are ordered again and again. Mortain, Falaise, the desperate attempts to restore the front. They fail. Not because German crews lack courage, but because courage cannot substitute for fuel, air cover, or replacements. And as Keller's Panzer IV sits motionless behind the burning wreckage on that Norman road, he receives a final order over the radio. Hold position. He looks at his fuel gauge. Nearly empty. He looks at the sky. Clear. Blue. Deadly. And in that moment, he understands something that Germany's leadership still refuses to accept. The tanks are not running out. Germany is. But the final blow is still coming. One that will strip away the last illusion that replacement is even possible. September 9th, 1944. Berlin, 6:55 a.m. September 9th, 1944. Berlin, 6:55 in the morning. Albert Speer stands alone in his office as dawn light filters weakly through bomb-damaged windows. The city outside is quiet in that unnatural way. Berlin has adopted no traffic, no bustle, just the distant echo of repair crews and the occasional thump of anti-aircraft guns repositioning yet again. On Speer's desk lies a stack of production reports. The numbers look impressive. Too impressive. According to the charts, German tank production is at its highest point of the war. More Panthers than ever. More self-propelled guns. Even the new Tiger II is rolling out of factories in growing numbers. On paper, Germany appears to be solving its armored crisis. But Speer knows better. Because these numbers hide a fatal truth. They count completion, not combat readiness. A Panther is considered produced when it leaves the factory gate. Not when it reaches a unit. Not when it fires its first round. Not when it survives its first engagement. And in 1944, that distinction means everything. Trains carrying newly built tanks are delayed for weeks. Rail lines are severed hours after being repaired. Locomotives sit idle for lack of coal. Switching yards are reduced to twisted steel by precision bombing. When trains do move, they move at night, slowly, without lights. Allied fighter bombers learn the schedules anyway. A single strafing run can destroy an entire shipment. One bomb on a bridge can strand dozens of tanks on the wrong side of a river, useless to the battles raging just kilometers away. Then there is the question no report dares to ask. Who will crew these tanks? By late 1944, Germany is scraping the bottom of its manpower pool. Veteran tankers are gone, killed, captured, or reassigned to emergency infantry units. Training schools are rushed. Courses meant to last months are cut to weeks, sometimes days. Replacements arrive barely knowing how to coordinate as a crew. Driver, gunner, loader, commander. 4 men who must act as one. Now they barely know each other's names. And the tanks themselves demand expertise. A Panther is not forgiving. Its transmission requires careful handling. Its engine demands maintenance schedules that no longer exist. Its optics need calibration that rushed crews don't understand. One mistake, and the tank becomes a stationary bunker. A bunker that will soon be destroyed. Spare parts are another illusion. Factories produce tanks, but not the components needed to keep them running. Final drives, bearings, gear assemblies, specialized tools. All are in short supply. A unit may receive 5 new Panthers and lose 3 within days to mechanical failure alone. There is no replacement for those losses. The Tiger II, Germany's ultimate heavy tank, embodies this paradox perfectly. It is terrifying on the battlefield when it works, but it consumes resources Germany no longer has. It is slow, fuel-hungry, maintenance-intensive. Its weight destroys bridges and roads. Recovery is often impossible. A broken Tiger II is almost always abandoned. And abandoned means destroyed. Germany builds them anyway, because the illusion of strength matters more than sustainability. Meanwhile, Allied production tells a different story. American factories turn out tanks by the tens of thousands. The Sherman is not perfect, but it is reliable. It is easy to repair. Parts are interchangeable. Crews can be trained quickly. A Sherman knocked out today may be back in service next week. A Panther lost today is gone forever. German commanders begin to adjust their language. They stop asking for replacements. They ask for anything. Captured tanks, assault guns, training vehicles, even obsolete models dragged out of storage. It doesn't matter. The front must be held. In private, Speer confesses to his staff what he cannot say publicly. Germany has crossed a threshold. Losses now exceed not just production, but recovery, deployment, training, and supply combined. Even if factories run at full capacity, the tanks cannot be absorbed into the army fast enough to matter. The pipeline is broken at every point. And then, another blow lands. Germany's last major oil sources, Romanian fields at Ploiești, are lost. Fuel allocations collapse. Tank units receive vehicles they cannot drive. Orders are issued to save fuel by towing tanks with trucks. The absurdity is complete. By autumn 1944, Germany is no longer replacing tanks. It is consuming its future, throwing away machines, men, and resources for days, sometimes hours, of delay. And the delay is no longer working. As Allied forces push toward Germany's borders and the Red Army surges westward, the final phase begins. The Reich will make one last attempt to turn numbers into reality. One last armored gamble. And when it fails, the truth will be undeniable, even to those who refuse to see it. The last gamble. December 16, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. 5:30 in the morning. The forest is silent under a heavy blanket of snow. You can see your breath in the darkness. Frost clings to pine branches. Engines idle low, muffled, as German tank crews huddle inside their vehicles, waiting for the signal that has been promised for months. This is it. The final armored gamble. At the head of the column sits a Tiger II from Schwer Panzerabteilung 506, its massive gun pointing into the trees like a frozen spear. Behind it, Panthers and Panzer IVs line the narrow forest roads, their crews tense, hopeful, exhausted. For a moment, just a moment, it feels like the old days. Surprise, mass, armor, victory. The artillery barrage begins at exactly 5:30 a.m. Shells crash into American positions along the front. Communication lines are severed. Forward units are stunned. In the fog and snow, German infantry pushes forward, followed by tanks rumbling out of the trees. Operation Wacht am Rhein is underway, and for the first time in months, German armor advances instead of retreating. But almost immediately, the cracks appear. The roads are too narrow, the tanks are too heavy, and the fuel is barely enough. Traffic jams form within hours. Panthers break down on icy slopes. Tiger II's strain bridges never meant to bear their weight. Vehicles become stuck, blocking entire columns accentuated by the tight Ardennes roads. Recovery is impossible. There are no tow vehicles capable of moving a 68-ton tank under combat conditions. Crews destroy their own machines and move on. Every abandoned tank is irreplaceable. Then the weather clears, and the sky opens. By December 23rd, Allied aircraft return in force. Fighter bombers sweep over the Ardennes, attacking roads, crossroads, fuel depots. The German advance slows to a crawl. Fuel trucks are destroyed faster than they can arrive. Tanks are left stranded, empty, helpless. Some crews drain the last liters of gasoline to keep engines warm. Others push their tanks by hand, futilely, through snow and mud. The offensive stalls. Not because German tanks lack firepower, but because they cannot move. And tanks that cannot move cannot fight. When the order finally comes to withdraw, it seals Germany's fate. The retreat is chaos. Roads choke with wreckage. Allied aircraft return again and again. Tanks out of fuel are blown up by their own crews. Others are destroyed by artillery as they attempt to cross rivers or navigate narrow villages. Entire battalions vanish. The Ardennes has cost Germany something it cannot afford. Not men, not morale, but machines. The last operational reserve of armored vehicles is gone. There will be no replacements. In January 1945, production continues on paper. Factories still assemble tanks in bombed-out halls and underground tunnels. Engineers still file reports. Clerks still tally numbers. But the tanks go nowhere. Fuel allocations are symbolic. Crews are non-existent. Rail lines are shattered beyond repair. The front collapses faster than vehicles can be delivered. The Red Army is now on the Oder. The Western Allies are crossing the Rhine. Germany's armored forces exist only in fragments, isolated vehicles fighting desperate rearguard actions, delaying the inevitable by hours, sometimes minutes. A Panther firing from behind a barricade in a ruined town. A Tiger II abandoned in a forest, engine intact but tanks dry. A Panzer IV used as a stationary pillbox. its tracks rusting into the frozen ground. These are not replacements. These are relics. And yet, even now, orders continue to arrive. Hold at all costs. Counterattack immediately. Victory through will. But will does not repair transmissions. Will does not create fuel. Will does not replace a destroyed tank. By the spring of 1945, the answer to the question is unavoidable. Why could Germany no longer replace its tanks in 1944? Because by then, replacement meant more than building steel. It meant time, fuel, transport, training, air cover, and logistics. And Germany had lost all of them. The war will end not with a final armored clash, but with silent wrecks lining roads, fields, and forests across Europe. Steel monuments to a machine that once seemed unstoppable. And a lesson written in rust and ash. You can build the most powerful tank in the world, but without the system to sustain it, it is already dead.